right, here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Emerge Gallery. My name is Robert Langdon, and we are going to talk about the Black and White show today, which is on exhibit at the gallery and also on Artsy through September 27th. I've got a handful of artists here with me that are going to be talking about their work as well. But to start, I want to give you a quick little tour of the exhibit, show you what we have going on. So we're going to start in order of how it's hung. I want to say that this was a somewhat difficult show to hang for me because when I hang the shows, I like to surround myself with the art and sort of make the connections present themselves to me. A lot of times the connections are made through color, and that's how I hang the show. But obviously this is a black and white show, so there is no color in the show. So it presented a little bit of a challenge, but the connectors did make themselves known in time, and it was, I know, really challenging for me. The show itself was really challenging for a lot of the artists that I work with because most of the artists work in color. So that was a challenge for them as well. But for the artists that this is the first time that they're doing something in black and white, or not usually their choice, that came together really nice. And I'm really, really pleased with what we have that came together. All right. So the work is on artsy.net. Just look up Emerge Gallery NY and you'll be able to see the full exhibit. In the meantime, we are going to start presenting the work in order that we just saw. So let me get that going. Let's let me get my screen here so you can see it. All right. Oh. Usually just getting started can always be a little challenge. There we go. Okay, so we're going to look at one piece at a time. This is the first piece by Junhee Kang. Is Junhee here? Are you here? I don't know if I saw you or not. No, I don't see you here. Okay, so this is the first piece. It is a photograph. Junhee is a artist here in Saugerties. She's partnered with Michael Chacon, who is a sculptor here in town that I'm very familiar with. So I've always met Junhee around. I always saw her with Michael. So I was very, very pleased to see that she had submitted some work to the show. This is a piece called Raindrops. I thought it was, it's a little simple, but it's very effective. Really, really pleased with this piece. It is, let me see here, 8.5 by 11, I believe. Okay. No, that's the wrong one. Okay, great. The second piece is called Dandelion. That's this piece right here. This is 8 by 8. All right, our Trisha Mclaughlin, is Trisha here? Everyone is on mute too, so we're gonna try to unmute everybody. Do I see Trisha here? Trisha, are you here? If you are, wave. I'm looking through. No, okay. Trisha has this is a difficult piece to see, so I am going to actually bring you up to it. It's ink that is layered through plexiglass. So
I am here, Robert.
Oh, you are here. Okay, great. Oh, Trisha, great. Go right ahead. You're on mute, Trish. You're still on mute, Trisha. You need to unmute yourself.
Am I? Okay.
All right, wonderful.
So let's just match with us there. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty tough because these are to photograph because these are layers of plexiglass. And so the drawings kind of build up, and I do a lot of work with, besides painting and drawing, also animation. And I was just interested in having kind of the animation, not through linear time, but in the space, in the really small space between the layers. So they're built up on each other and the lines kind of connect them from one layer to the next. So in a way, it's like a puzzle, a game, but also a map. The lines kind of bring you through from the back to the front, to the middle to the back again. And this is something very different because I basically worked with a lot of high key color. But I started doing these layers a couple of years ago and I went back to it and then I wanted to just keep it with just lines. And so I had something that was black and white that would work for this.
And then this is the second piece called Pod People.
Right.
Yeah, again, it's this is a piece that you really need to see up close in order to really see the full effect of it. Because it is, I think is it 3 different layers, Trish, of plexiglass?
It's 3 different layers, and that one also has a layer of ridges, like a lenticular photograph.
Yes, yeah.
And so that was the other idea too, is you kind of walk by it, you see at different angles. So it's got 3 layers, and one of them sandwiched in there is got the ridges as like a diffusion. Yeah.
Is this the first time you've done something like this?
I was doing them a couple of years ago, and then I just went back to doing the layers. So, so pretty recently. Like I never actually finished some before. I've been doing them just recently again.
They're wonderful. They're small little pieces. I think they're probably about 5 by 7 is the one size,
Right.
And the other is about 8 by 10.
Yes.
Yeah, they're wonderful pieces.
Thank you.
They're perfectly in the show. I was, one of the things I wanted to mention is I really wanted to try to keep it to pure black and white, which was a little difficult. But I did get a number of grayer pieces. This I think highlights the combination of the black and white and the gray really nicely. So that's Trish. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Okay, our next piece is by Lula Rappaport. Lula is a she's a young girl. I think she's just started college. I know her in town here, and Lula has been volunteering to do some work for the gallery now and again. So I was really, really pleased that she had submitted this piece. She's back in town from college. She's going to college for art right now. I thought this piece was just perfect for the show. It's got a raw canvas in the back, and then the white is pretty textured, and it's sort of built one on top of each other, so it creates some really beautiful layering. Again, like a lot of the pieces in the show, it's minimal but really, really effective. So that's Lula Rappaport. This is Louis Alves. Louis is an artist in New Jersey that I've known for quite a while. He does all hand-cut collage. This is all a take on masculinity, a number of different current events that you can see. There's Pete and his husband. So this is Louis's take on masculinity in today's society. And I'll just read a little brief statement from Louis. I'm a New Jersey-based artist with a primary interest in photo collage. Each work is a hand-manipulated hybrid utilizing appropriated imagery from publications. My art is characterized by pop culture and advertising influences, as well as vibrant colors and bold compositions. I have 2 pieces of Louis's in the Isolation show that I thought were, pretty great. It's called the Isolation series, and one of them has to do with how a lot of his work is all statements on current society, and a lot of it has to do with our rush to pick up toilet paper and different products. So that's Louis Alves. I'm going to bring in Arabella Colton. Arabella is a wonderful photographer here in Saugerties, and we actually both lived in San Francisco at the same time. She's going to tell you a little bit about this series, and the series is going to be online on Artsy to present the whole series. It's called the Wall Dog series. I was very excited when I saw that she photographed these because as she'll talk about it, I was one of the people that went around the city looking for these wall dogs. So come on over, Arabella. Or you want to do it from here?
Yeah, that's
okay,
fine.
Great.
Sure. In the early 90s, an anonymous photographer, artist, was painting these wonderful wall dogs on walls and fences all over the city. And I fell in love with them and went around taking as many pictures of them as I could to document them. And when I first saw this one, it's not showing, but the word truth is painted on the fence by the wall dog. And
they could see it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay, good.
This is just our view.
Good. And I thought at first that maybe that was an ironic or sardonic comment on newspapers, but in our present climate, I'm not so sure. The message may be quite different or the opposite. Of course, we don't know if the artist painted the words that frequently accompany the wall dog, or if it was somebody coming by later and making a comment.
And did they ever find out? They never found out who the artist was. The artist was anonymous. A lot of people, I think, believe he was a student, right?
Yes,
an art student.
The rumor was that he was a student at the Art Institute of San Francisco, but that was never confirmed. Yes. And I didn't pursue it. People have asked me, well, why didn't you try to find out who the artist was? But I really felt that he or she had chosen to work in graffiti, which is an anonymous, way of doing art. And that if he had wanted to be known, he could have had a show and put them in frames in a gallery, but he didn't. And so I respected that and felt that that was part of what they were, was to remain anonymous.
And it was a true, real, the purpose of street art. And I think that, it got a lot of people thinking, like I said, myself included. I went in search of these different wall dogs, and I'm so glad that Arabella had captured them because it brought back a lot to memories for me too.
That's great. Herb Cain, the iconic column journalist in Three Dot Journalism in San Francisco, he mentioned them in his column and referred to them as those woebegone gray dogs that someone is painting all over town.
So I encourage you to visit Artsy. The whole series will be up probably midweek. It's just about ready to go. Thanks, Arabella. All right, so that is Arabella Colton who joined us. Our next artist is Michael Palladino. Michael has a series of images in fog. These are photographs, and they're covered by encaustic. They're mounted on wood panel, and they're about 16 by 16 each piece. These are photographs with encaustic wax. Quiet walks through the country landscape, ghostly shadows in the thick atmosphere, phantom visions and memories fading in the grayness. Michael's work has a lot to do with bringing awareness to the environment. In the landscape show that had just closed last week, although you can still see it online on Artsy, there was a piece that I included of Michael's that was it was a diptych. The top was an aerial photograph covered in encaustic, and then the bottom was that aerial photograph that he carved into wood and then torched it and burned it. So it was a real statement on how we're treating the environment. All right, our next artist is Laura Avello. Laura has 2 monoprints in the show. This is called Pine Trees on the Mountain. It's 14 by 18. And then the second one that I'm going to show you is called Conference 1. That's 8 by 10. So for this scene, Pine Trees, it was inspired by a moonlight night this past winter. She woke up at about 3 a.m., looked outside. The sky and the land was a soft, quiet, dark. The contours of the mountain was lit by moonlight, and the pine trees were covered in snow, highlighting their triangular shape. And I think that she captured beautifully what she saw through this monoprint. And then this is the second piece that's called Conference. And this is a smaller piece. It's 8 by 10. Both monoprints, Laura Avello. These are pieces by Suzanne Kirschner. This is called Barcode, and then the second is called Squall. Barcode, both of them are 28 by 28, and it's stippling. I'll tell you, there's another artist too, Patrick Farley, that we're going to see in a little bit that does stippling as well. And I don't know if it would be relaxing or if it would, drive me a bit batty to do something repetitive like this. But I so appreciate that people can bring these to life. So in Barcode, Barcode is comprised of a series of 7 vertical rectangular bars alternating in value. On closer inspection, the appearance of nondescript value reveals a variety of unique and individual lines, just as we are unique individuals and should be celebrated for what we can offer and contribute and not dehumanize and reduce to simply a number of barcodes. So we'll get in a little close here so you can see the real detail of this piece. It's really stunning, just gorgeous. This second piece is called Squall. Squall is also 28 by 28, and it has stippling as well. So a squall is a brief, intense windstorm. This is a transition of a snow squall completely fills the night sky and snow swirling and swirling, blocking everything else out, even sound. This composition built upon a spiral comprised of short layered curved lines and symbols. Within the spiral are small ovals that vary in value depending on its depth in the night sky. And there's also aluminum on this. The aluminum adds an element of something precious glistening in the night. And I'll bring this one a little closer too, so you can really see the detail on this piece as well. So this is Suzanne Kirschner. Barbara Bravo. Barbara Bravo is an artist here in Saugerties. She runs the Saugerties Artist Studio Tour. She's been doing this for a number of years, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I encourage you to come up to Saugerties in August and check it out. It's the best in the area. So Barbara in '71 began using clay to create all the usual pottery pieces one would expect. Clay just seemed to be the right medium that allowed her to explore and be creative in a very direct way. Whether it was making a teapot or a bowl or working with slabs of clay and sculpting images on tiles, which is what she's doing here in this piece. The tactile nature of clay appeals to her strongly. She finds that teapots are a wonderfully complex form and they are among her most favorite pieces. Her wall sculptures, a more recent development, allows her the greater use of imagery from landscapes to botanicals. And just as an aside, Barbara is a master gardener as well. Throughout her work can be seen is her love of nature, as is also evident in the many gardens she's created around her home and studio. Just like pottery, the gardens too are an ever-changing work in progress, a living sculpture. So this is made out of clay, and it's layer upon layer. So that is Barbara Bravo. J.D. Weiss. J.D. Weiss is a photographer in Woodstock. This is called Sea Change. J.D. uses traditional 2.25 film, 2.25 camera. I think it's a Nikon. It might be a Hasselblad. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me. But she scans the negatives into the computer, and she does some modification, but not much. What she'll do is This is a bit more abstract. There's a lot more computer manipulation in this piece. But in a lot of her landscape pieces, she will take multiple images of the same scene and then maybe pull a cloud from one image and put them in another negative, pull some birds in from another scene and put them in that. Not really changing them so that they look unnatural. I have a show up on Artsy of JD's work. She's a really wonderful photographer, gorgeous, gorgeous work. She's a master with black and white and also with color. Her color work is really, really wonderful as well. So this is Sea Change, and then this one is called The Visitor. This is 21 by 21. Okay, Janice Belove. Are you here, Janice? Yep, here you are. Okay, let me bring you up, and you're on mute. Okay, great. Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I wrote something, so that I'm just going to read from it if you don't mind. My name is Janice Belove. I made this painting, monochrome still life, about a week. I made it this summer, and Andrea Geller, who's also in the show, she'd mentioned Emerge Gallery to me before, but she told me that there was a black and white exhibit, and of course I thought that included gray. I didn't realize it was just black and white. It's acrylic on canvas board. I've always been a still life painter, oil on canvas, with a few portraits thrown in for good measure. And I've always believed and enjoyed working from life and in the experience of looking at three-dimensional items and converting them to 2 dimensions. And I was strictly a not work from photograph person. This summer, though, I was teaching a virtual painting class sponsored by the Montclair Art Museum. I also live in New Jersey. And the first project was a value study. And I was setting up for the still life for the students to work from. And it was from a laptop image. And I realized that to them, it was a static image. It was not a real still life. And whether I used a photograph or trained the camera on an actual still life, it wouldn't make any difference to them. So I took a photograph, which I did not believe in doing, and posted it for them. And I did the project along with them. And I really liked working from the photo. And I had David Hockney is one of my favorite painters. And he wrote a book called Secret Knowledge. And I went back and reread that book. And it's all about how artists, painters have used lenses and photography since the 15th century. So I thought, okay, I can use photographs too. And now I really like working from the photographs. So I think however you arrive at your image is fine. And it's the final image that counts. And that's about it. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janice. Our next piece is by Robert Greco. Robert is an artist in also New Jersey, living in Verona. Robert is an abstract artist. He paints both small and large. This is an 8x10 piece. He's really great with color, and I was really pleased to see what he did with black and white. Robert's also a fashion designer as well. He does a lot of real classic 50s kind of fashion. So this is Robert Greco. And now we have Leslie Bozzi. Welcome, Leslie. Good to see you back. This was a little more gray than I had hoped for, but I love it. And I'm so pleased to have it. Leslie, I also have a show of Leslie's work on Artsy. It's called Wrapping and Unveiling. Leslie's got some fantastic sculptures that you can really play with. It's very interactive. Last month I had a exhibit of Leslie's in the window of some fantastic plexiglass sculptures that were just wonderful. When the sun hit them, they just glimmered. So please have Leslie welcome and tell us about this piece.
Hi, Robert, and congratulations on reopening the gallery.
Oh, thank you.
Such a wonderful gallery. I mean, it's one of my favorite that I've ever been to. So I'm so happy you got to reopen.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Some of the works you mentioned from the other shows, I like to play around with materials. And actually this represents some playfulness. I've been locked down in my studio since March, and I haven't really gone to the art store. So I sort of have been using found materials that come into my studio or come into my home. And this is some foam that came in a box, and it was very interesting because you could actually, it's perforated, so you could take out little 1-inch by 1-inch pieces. And so I made a series of these. Actually, they're all black and white and gray. And I'm kind of referencing a movement called Art Povera, which was a movement in the 1960s in Italy of artists who tried to take everyday objects and make them meaningful. And it's sort of referenced back to surrealism and Dada. So I've been recently trying to make strange objects that really have no real meaning. And this is part of a series of strange objects that have no real meaning. But one wonderful artist named Piero Manzoni in that movement, he lived till he was like 30, but he made these many, many interesting things. One of which was made with clay, this clay that you might use for a facial. It's clay that people use to give themselves a facial. So I bought this clay recently on Amazon, put it in my studio, and I've been trying to work with it. It's really a big mess. I'm not a sculptor, but I dipped this piece of foam in the clay and it dried and it came out really nice. So then I put it back together with the foam. And I'm finding, this is just all about playing. I'm playing in my studio, and some things look great and some things don't. So that's what this is. And I have many other works like that come out of this playfulness that I do in my studio. So that's it.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. This next piece is by Yale Epstein. Yale, hold on, let me bring I want to get a different image of this. Yale has been telling me that he's been very prolific during COVID. Here we go. Okay, and he's using a lot more materials, a lot more different materials than he's used before. This is called Jaywalking 2. It's Sumi ink, markers, pen, pencil, graphite, and acrylic, and it's 15.5 by 19.5. He's been working a lot smaller too, and he's going back to his life as a printmaker. And as you know, this is a good example of how he's been influenced as that with that. It's more of a series than an addition, this piece, and the printmaking that he's starting to do. This for him during this whole COVID has been a real quiet period where he could focus internally. He usually works in a lot more color, so this was very different for him, and on a lot larger scale. So this was a challenging piece for him. It's really beautiful, and I like hearing how artists challenge themselves to for the different themes, and just in general, always trying to do something new. That's Yale Epstein. These are two pieces by Marty Bannon. This piece is called Pot on Stone Peas. It's a photograph, and it almost looks like, to me, it's clear that they're stones, but it looks like an aerial view of a mountain to me, and I see little people with all these little small stones. The second piece is called Omen of Rage. And this was, Marty was telling me, Marty lives a little north of Saugerties, and Marty was telling me that he was driving home one day and saw the cloud formation like this and really had to pull over. Me personally, I sort of see mushrooms in it. When he told me they were clouds, I clearly saw clouds, but I always like seeing unexpected things in work, especially with abstract. That's one of the reasons why I like abstract so much. Our next piece is by Sarah Harris. This is called Screw It. It's a mixed media. It's 24 by 18. Sarah said that these were all inspired by jar tops. Sarah works a lot with color, so this was a little challenging for her, although she said that she had a blast doing it. And then the texture here is gravel from her driveway that you can see here. Wayne Alfano. Wayne is an artist in New Jersey that I just recently met. And like a lot of artists, he was just a little not too sure that his work was good. But I thought it was wonderful. And he exhibited with me last month in the landscape show. One of his pieces sold, which is a great compliment, especially when you're just starting off and you're just starting to exhibit your work. So, I always encourage artists to, really don't listen to that inner voice that's telling you the wrong thing. Let other people's eyes really, see what's really there, and take a lot of faith in that. So this is Wade Alfano, and this is Notre Dame in Paris. It is pen and ink. Patrick Farley. This is the other artist that I was telling you about with stippling. This is called One Man Show. It's 22.5 by 22.5. And I'm going to zoom in a bit on this because it really benefits from seeing it up close. Again, little dots, one right after the other, real repetitive motions. This one is One Man Show. And this is called Black Hole. Patrick uses a lot of his work in, he creates greeting cards, different prints. He did a coloring book. He's really making use of his artwork. Lynn Mccreary. Lynn, are you here? Let's see. Lynn, do I see you here?
Yep, I'm here.
You are. Okay, let me find you. I got a whole bar of artists here. Oh, is this you? Wave to me. Here you are. I think I see you. Yep, that's you. Okay, let's
The
get
color.
All right. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, how are you doing, Robert?
Doing great. Thanks for being here.
I actually did this piece especially for submitting to this show. I also work in a lot of color, and it, again, the word repetitively is challenging, especially since I really tried to do black and white with no gray. So since I do a lot of layering in my work, I build up texture that way. So in trying to make this visually pleasing without as many different types of contrasts, I used, digging into the paint with a stick. Actually, it's a paintbrush that I sharpen. And also, I've been doing something lately with cut black paper where I just take regular black paper out of a pad and I cut shapes out of it with nothing in mind. Then when I'm working, I'll pull out some of the shapes and try and see where if they fit into a piece. And that also adds to the different texture because the surface of the paper, especially when you put a gloss varnish over it, is very shiny, almost like patent leather. So it's like a flat juxtaposed with a lot of texture. And I find that looks really cool too.
Yeah, there's some great texture in this also. Really nice.
I also don't really work subjective that much. Like I'll just start painting more like the intuitive art type of thing. And then as I'm making layers and shapes start appearing, that's how my paintings turn into whatever it is they're going to be. I've been calling it an artistic journey.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, Lynn is another artist that I works with a lot of color and brings a lot of life to her art through color. So I was really pleased to see this piece with just black and white. All right, great. Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
And you'll definitely see more from Lynn coming up soon. All right, this is by Robert Troxel. Robert lives here in Saugerties. This is called China Dreams. It's an etching, 20 by 26. And this is a little something from Robert. He was born in Osaka, Japan, the son of a Japanese woman and an American Army sergeant. His childhood was a jumble of perspectives and worldviews, which came into conflict when he moved to America at the age of 5. Replacing the gentle strains of the samisen, I think that's how you pronounce it, were the factory whistles calling men to work in cement plants. Images of Mount Fuji were replaced by belching gray smokestacks, and religious aesthetic concerns substituted for industrial pragmatism. While teaching at the Jingzhen Ceramic Institute in Jingzhen, China, he visited the Bird's Nest Stadium and made prints of the vitriolic changes going on in China today. Let me bring this a little closer so you can have a look. So that is Robert Troxel. Judith Zeichner. Judith has 2 pieces. Both of them are sketches. This one is called Elbows on the Table. It's graphite, 19 by 22. And then the second one is called Rosie, it's on ink and wash, 9 by 12. Judith is an artist in Kerhonkson, New York, where she's been painting and exhibiting for over 50 years. She works in the tradition of American modernist figurative painters, such as Fairfield Porter and Milton Avery. Her work is loved by many collectors and was prominently featured in the Jane Fonda film Peace, Love, and Misunderstanding. She's also a highly respected teacher and was commissioned to tutor Ms. Fonda for her acclaimed role as a painter. So this is Elbows on the Table, and this is Rosie. I was thinking about doing a nude show. I don't know how anyone would feel about that, but I've always liked the way that folks do nudes. Susan Murphy, I just saw you here. We've got some photographs by Susan Murphy. Here she is. All right, let me bring you up. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Robert. You know, I've been thinking all day about you and want to thank you for what you do and how well you do it.
Oh, thank you.
It's really great for a lot of people.
Well, I couldn't do it without all you folks. So,
Oh,
there's so much talent, and I'm just honored to be able to exhibit it all. I appreciate that.
Hunting Island. Hunting Island is one of the barrier islands along the Atlantic coast. It is the last of the barrier islands before the Georgia border in South Carolina. And running down the middle of Hunting Island is a lush, marvelous maritime forest. And the coastline erosion has come in and has claimed whole sections to this forest. So there's this long beach that's populated by these magnificent skeletons. And I have many photographs that I've taken there. And you know, I've thought a lot about how, as with flesh, the decomposition is awful, but once that's over and all that's left are the beautiful bones. So with this forest, a terrible thing to see this glorious, lush green thing go to bare bones and desert. But look what it leaves. It leaves these incredible shapes. So that's Hunting Island. And it was a color picture. Oh, there's, yes, both of these. Actually, this is in Manatee Springs, Florida. It's a state park. And there's a long, long trail. And at the end of this trail, you come out on this cypress pond. And it's so old and so isolated, and so elegant. And I took it as a color photograph. And then one day I was looking through my photographs and I looked at this and I said, you know, that wants to be a black and white photograph. So I took the color out of it. And then I went through a bunch of other photographs and took the color out of them, including the Hunting Island one. And so now I have this little collection of black and white photographs that express, I think the black and white expresses the simplicity and the elegance and the antiquity of these beings.
I think it works beautifully in black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely adds a certain mood to it that probably is taken away with color. Really beautiful. Thank you, Susan. I just wanted to mention that I'm showing here in the show, there's work on the walls, and then there's also additional art for the show that's on Artsy. So this is the piece that's on Artsy. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Robert.
Good to see you again. Okay, Elizabeth Caputo. Elizabeth, here we go. This is called Festivity. Welcome. You might be on mute. Oh, you're muted. No? There you go. Oh, we can't hear you. Huh. It says that you're unmuted, but I don't hear you. I see you.
Maybe she needs to raise the volume on her computer.
Let's see. No. Okay, Elizabeth, I'm going to move on, and then we'll come back to you if that's okay. All right. So just jump in when it might be. You might have the audio turned off on your computer. Yeah, if you want to jump in, we'll come back to you. All right, great, thank you. All right, Brass Rabbit. This is a wonderful piece, and it was a pleasure meeting you the other day. Here you go. Let me pull you up.
Hi, Robert.
Hi. So this is called Man of War, and I just want to say, I something that I really like about this photograph, obviously, is the smoke rings, and they remind me of jellyfish. Yeah, it's wonderful. So please tell us about the series and about the photo.
Thank you. So actually, this photo was more of a research and inspiration for what the project ended up kind of evolving into. The series that I have called Grayscale Economics is actually, it was postponed due to COVID-19. I'm a Trenton-based artist, and the exhibit was scheduled to be at a gallery here in Trenton. So it's been postponed to 2021, excuse me, in the spring. And the current body of work is a little bit different from this. It's not all completely black and white, but it is a little bit muted in color. And all of the participants, I'm sorry, a cat just popped up in my lap. All of the participants have their faces completely blurred or taken out. So this series of work, it discusses a whole very diverse group of individuals who function in illicit and licit economies, which basically means that what they do for a living is somehow illegal in some way, shape, or form. And it varies between, people who run some daycare out of their houses for neighborhood kids, and they make like $20 a week, to individuals who, make full like six-figure salaries off of what it is that they do. And it explores basically why people are in those situations and how widespread the varying ways of making money in today's world can be. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, and I think it's an important project. You know, looking at some of the other work that you've done too, is really special. I think that it's really important to tell people stories and bring awareness to different situations through art. And I think you've done that really beautifully and compassionately with the work that you do.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Oh, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to apologize about the red lines on the bottom. I must have hit something, and so I apologize for that. They're not supposed to be there. Okay, Frank Diostolfo. Frank, are you here? Are you here, Frank? No? Oh, okay. Nope. I don't see him. Okay. So this is a piece by it's obviously an abstract piece. It's graphite. It is on paper. And Avello, what are the measurements on that?
It's 10 and a half by 12 and a half.
10 and a half by 10. Oh, you are here, Frank. Oh. All right, someone, Brass, are you, no? Someone's unmuted. Okay, never mind. So yes, this is Frank's piece. And I think it goes perfectly in the show. I'm sorry, I don't have much more to say about it. I was expecting him to be here to talk about it. I do love the motion in the piece. Hold on, someone is unmuted. Here we go. Okay, great. I do love the motion in the piece. And Elizabeth, your microphone's working, so we'll bring you up next. Okay, let's go back to Elizabeth. So
am I working?
You're working.
All
right.
right.
Excellent. So tell us about. Let me get you on camera here and tell us about this piece. Great.
Yeah. Well, I actually like black and white. I dip. I deal a lot with color too, but this is one of my smaller pieces. It's 12 by 12. And basically I just wanted to see what fireworks like in black and white. I wanted just the crowd standing there in awe. And I find that black and white more somber, kind of creepy feel, but I like it usually. And this one I actually framed. I felt it was needed. And it's really tiny, but I think it works.
Yeah, it's a 12 by 12 piece. It's not that small. You know, it
It's
reminds
small
me.
for me.
One of the things that I really miss about these last few months and just being so isolated is going to shows, going to live events. And when I saw this immediately put me there. Going to see a punk rock show, or, you know, up here in Woodstock, we've got some really great musicians playing. And I desperately miss those times. I hope we bring them back. But this put me right there.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I love how art can really just bring you to a place, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg Smith. Greg, I think you're here. No? No? Okay. This is a piece by Greg Smith. This is it's ink on paper. It is called, hold on one second. Oh, yes, Laguna Beach, which I'm assuming is in California. Greg lives in Pennsylvania, I believe. And this fit perfectly with the black and white theme. I thought with the end of summer, it would be really nice to bring a beach scene in. So this again really touched me and sort of it brought me back to sort of what I've been missing through all of this, through all of the COVID. Next piece is by David Kleiner. I don't think David is here. This is a oil piece on canvas. It's a small piece. I'd say 20 inches or so.
It's 16 by 20.
16 by 20. It is an oil piece. I'll bring you in a little close. I love the texture in here. And it just, it sort of, when you bring it close, it really pulls your eye in certain directions and gives you like a lot of abstract. It sort of leads your eye to try to see something. And it's pieces like this that I like to just look at for a while and just see different things. This is David Kleiner. He lives in Stone Ridge up here in New York. Vic, this is a gorgeous piece. Victor Nipper. And Vic, I think I saw you here. Maybe I didn't. Okay, I've had Vic's piece, I've had his work in shows before. This one I saw it just, I don't know, I wish it's the kind of photograph that I wish I took. It's just so crisp and you could see every feather in this piece. So wish I had taken this photograph. I'm not much of a nature photographer, but you know, when I see pieces like this, I mean, it really just moves me.
I'm
So
here
that's,
now.
oh, you are here.
Yeah, just for a moment.
Oh, okay.
The piece is,
Oh, here you are.
yeah, the piece is one of the birds that's being trained. Falconer was working down in Wawayanda with it. And he was nice enough to allow me to take some shots of his birds. I've worked with Heinz Ming before he passed. Wonderful, wonderful group of guys that are falconers. And this bird is a gyrfalcon, but I think it's a hybrid gyrfalcon. The colors on the bird are more like the adolescent rather than a pure gray that they usually are.
I was wondering if this was caught in the wild or if you were at a sanctuary of some kind. Because if you had caught this in the wild, I mean that's a majestic feat. But it's a gorgeous photograph. Really, really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Or Vic, I'm sorry. Okay. Next is Kate Masters. Kate lives here in Saugerties. This is a watercolor piece. It's called Busy Harbor. The length is 16 inches by 9. It's a semi-abstract urban landscape. It was created with black watercolor paint, letting the white of the paper itself provide the lights and reflections. Images were developed with mark making with a plastic card rather than brushwork. She's been a Saugerties resident for years. She's lived in the Hudson Valley for most of her life and most recently in Nyack, New York. And we have two pieces by Alex Kvetten. Alex lives here in Saugerties. He is a sculptor. This is a relief print. It's called Reflection on Time 1. And then the second one that I'll be showing you is called And Sun Will Shine Brighter Again. Both of them are 20 by 26. In Saugerties, most people know Alex for his sculptures. He uses various different metals, bronzes, a lot of times, but this work here is very reflective of his sculptures. I just thought that in these two pieces, he beautifully captured what we've all become, what we know Alex as, but seeing it in a different medium, I think gives a whole different feel to Alex's work. If you're in Saugerties and, if you come up for the studio tour, Alex has a beautiful gallery in his home studio with some really amazing work. So I definitely encourage you to have a look at his sculptures. They're just stunning. There's also some of his work on the Emerge Gallery artsy page. I had a few months back in March, I had some of his sculptures in the gallery window. So they are on the artsy page if you want to go have a look at those as well. So that's Alex Benton. Annette Jarrett, love this piece. Annette, I saw you come in. Let's see if I can find you. No.
Hi.
I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm not being seen. Anyway,
Okay, that's fine.
I could keep going.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Hi, my name's Annette Jarrett. The piece I'm going to speak about is called Totem 2. It's a piece that I did while I was in Florida for a few months and is part of a growing series which began as spirit dancing. Though I've been classically trained as an oil painter, I'm attracted to collage. It's like a puzzle. I create the pieces which become my materials and then put them together. There is also a lot of physical movement in the process. Collage allows me a certain creative freedom and adds texture I can't imitate through painting. For me, the significance of this piece is I created it not in my home studio where I have so many supplies at my fingertips, but it was done in a minuscule studio that I rented in Florida, 8 by 10 feet. And there was nothing in the room. All I brought from New York were my paints. I bought a table, and fortunately there were 2 formidable art stores nearby. I had been laminating my own papers, so I sought out papers to work with and decided to work on a canvas surface. The space and limited supplies, like I didn't even have my printer, I needed to work with a very limited palette. In this series, I made 5 different canvases using black Arches watercolor paper and cut painted canvas and acrylic paint. With this technique, 2 are black and white, while the others have a limited amount of color incorporated in the design. This turned out to be a minimalist experience, which was interesting for me, as I had limited supplies, limited space, and created these pieces really from nothing. I'm attracted to nature and to trees in particular. The black spattered surfaces mimic abstract bark in a rhythmic way. Do you want to do the second piece?
Yeah, let's look at the second piece.
Okay. The second piece, which is more recent, incorporates splattered paints and shredded papers and layers, creating an intricate lace-like pattern of assorted shapes. A little hard to see there. I have done a few pieces in this style. Each have a unique vision to them. Done during the COVID lockdown, it represents the insanity and confusion of the times. I just want to add one funny thing is when I was in Florida, so I'm in this little studio space. Across the street is this really nice gallery, and I go in there and I see some work and I go, oh, this must be Alex's. And it was.
Alex exhibits a lot in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love this piece. And this is all shredded paper, right? This one?
It's shredded papers, but it's also a lot of poured paints.
Okay. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annette. Okay, the next artist is Michael Egan. Michael lives over in Beacon. I like Michael's work a lot. It's very minimal, but again, really, really effective. These are 2 pieces through his, it's called the Through series. This is a diptych, and it's on wood, and the wood is cut in half. So you can, you hang them probably about 1/4 inch apart. This is the first piece in the Through series. This is 4, and then this is the second piece. This one's not cut in half though. So what this is the artsy piece, and then this is the piece that's in the gallery. So this is what Michael has to say about this series. My Through series examines the process of coming to terms with the end of significant moments or events in one's life. In this sense, the word through means over, as well as the act of passing through one state to enter another. In this particular work, the passing through aspect separates the work into 2 halves, symbolic of the ending of a major relationship. That's Michael Egan. Lowell Barr. The fabulous Lowell Barr. Lowell is one of the most prolific artists that I know. She can do it all, and she does it all really well.
Thank you.
So welcome, Lowell.
Hi.
Tell us about this creepy piece.
It wasn't really meant to be creepy. It's an abstract that just kind of turned out looking like a head, which a lot of things I do start out as abstracts, but then turn into looking like something, something creepy. This was done on my iPad in an app called Procreate, which I just really love. It's like an entire art studio in my hand. It's got every kind of brush and pencil and chalk and charcoal and effects. So this, I was just basically playing around with pastels, just black and white pastels. And I don't know, it kind of appealed to me. It's sort of a table and sort of a skull and don't know what all.
And this is the second piece.
Yeah, I didn't know you were putting this one in. That was a surprise.
This is on Artsy. This is just on Artsy.
Okay. This was a picture I took in color, of course, last year at the Cape. I was with my entire family in Sandwich, and it was really a beautiful day with beautiful clouds, but they were so dramatic that I wanted to make them black and white. And down at the very bottom, you can see the Provincetown Lighthouse. No, the bottom. There you go. Yeah.
There he is.
And I liked how subtle that was. And it was just this little spot of white that put the whole thing in proportion.
Yep. You didn't know you'd miss it.
Right. And we didn't go to the Cape this year. We had to cancel. So makes me nostalgic.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lowell.
Thank you, Robert.
Lowell exhibits a lot at the gallery. I'm so pleased. You know, she's got a dark side and she's got a really soft side. You know, they both work really well together.
I have to tell you, Robert, Arabella brought me some sunflowers, and she said that she saw it with a postcard of a monarch butterfly.
Oh.
And she said she saw me as a sunflower and butterfly kind of person. And I said, I'm so pleased, because most people think I'm a corpse and zombie kind of person.
Well, you're that too.
Well, yeah, but I'm also a sunflower person. So.
Of course. Yeah. Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lowell. Arabella actually bought me some beautiful lilies for the black and white show. And they're white lilies. All right. Janine Menlove. Janine, are you here?
I'm here. Hello.
Okay, let me bring your work up, and then we'll put you on the screen.
Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely.
It's so fun seeing everybody's work. It's better than an opening, because you get to see each piece and hear people talk. So it's really wonderful.
Although I got to say, I am looking forward to having an opening.
Oh yes, I'm sure you are. Yes. So now I've forgotten everything I was going to say, but again, thank you. And these two pieces are from a series that I started called the Pastiche Series. And this was something that grew out of the quarantine, isolation, and ultimately we couldn't go into museums or galleries to see art. And so what do they say? Our imagination is our freedom. So I imagine these artists, their artwork hanging in the museums, dark rooms, and nobody could see them. And then this, and I imagined all of this. And then the word pastiche described almost perfectly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to copy, but I really wanted to kind of mimic styles of iconic artists and photographers and their subjects in celebration instead of just copying. So it was like celebrating these iconic artists. So I went through all of my archives and I found images, and then I started the photo montages. And each one starts with actually the exterior of the Guggenheim. Is that back image there with the lines, a very abstract image. And that was kind of symbolic of seeing the art outside of the museum and seeing it on the wall, something outside, bringing it outside. Mm-hmm. And I guess the fun thing about this that came out of this was, looking at artists that we all know about, we know so much about it, but then you know, there's things that you relearn and you forget, maybe you've learned, maybe you never knew. And one thing on these, the two pieces, this one is Pears, inspired by Edward Weston. This piece is Three Blooms, inspired by Imogen Cunningham. And both of them were members of F64, which was a group of photographers that were opposed to pictorialism in the early 20th century. And they wanted very sharp edges, sharp focus, clean edges, and they wanted to present a kind of modernist style with this sharply focused images. And it was all seen through kind of a Western eye. They were all out in the West. And I kind of, and then I read that people, they looked to the West at this time, and they looked to the West because it was land of hope. And I thought, wow, 100 years later, we're still looking for hope. And I just thought it kind of all tied in, and you know, it was all very symbolic and very fun. These pieces are very fun to do. They're, oh, that's my time. That was my 3-minute timer up, so. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you. And you know, I didn't know that was the Guggenheim. I'm really pleased to know that now. It makes it even more special.
I've done a series. I had started with color. I have like bright Van Goghs and different things, but the black and white, you inspired me to do the black and white, which I love, and I've always worked in black and white photography anyway. So it was great. It was an inspiration from you, Robert.
Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you. I'm glad I inspired you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, our next artist is Susan Phillips. Susan is a bit of a street photographer. This is from a series that she has called Street Scene, spelled S-E-E-N. It's a little play on words. And she's got lots of all different views of the city, manhole covers, street lights, just everything that you would see in the city. The kind of thing that would probably me like, I like to fool around with my camera, would make me stop and take a picture of. So we share a very similar eye. And then Susan also has some really lovely landscape work as well. Here's another piece called Snow from Street Scene. There's a number of Susan's works on Artsy as well. She has two beautiful landscapes, one from Washington and one from Colorado, in the last terrain exhibit. Barbara Masterson. Did I see Barbara here?
Yes.
You're here. Let me find you. Oh, here you are. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So this is Peaches.
This is Peaches. 5 years ago, I was landscape out plein air painting, and the migrant workers came onto the farm that I was at. And since then, I've been exclusively painting and drawing the men and women that work in the fields because no one sees them. And I want to bring attention to where our food comes from. And I'd actually become quite an advocate for them, working with different organizations and bringing them clothing and food and what bicycles, things they can use. And then I want people to think about their circumstances. You know, who pays for their health care? What happens if they fall out of a tree and break their clavicle? Who pays for that? And I certainly don't know the answers to any of these questions. Peaches always wears very heavy clothing, even in the heat of the winter, and he wears bandanas, which I also wear when I farm. And so I gave him some. He's got a couple of sons, and one of them came with him 1 year to work. Excuse me. And I wonder about why does that happen? Why can only one of his sons come and work here?
Do you, Barbara, do you spend time with these folks and really get to know them?
I do. There is one farm that I go to most often, and I go to their barracks, and that's where I bring them items that people have given me
Yeah.
And I talk to them about their religion and their politics and how it is in Jamaica, because most of them that I draw are from Jamaica. Oh,
Mhm.
this is Alfred.
Yeah, that's Alfred. Yeah.
Alfred, he's been here consistently. He came here and now he has a green card, which he's very proud of. And that whole system of how he got the green card is very expensive and not very easy. But he's very proud of it. And I said to him, make sure you don't carry that green card with you, carry a copy, because it's been known that people, if he runs into any kind of immigration, they will take the card and then he'll have no proof.
Yeah. Wow. Barbara also has a number of portraits as well in color that I believe you do in oil. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
A whole series and a whole series of the pencil sketches as well. I think that, you know, just it's obvious that you get to know these folks and their stories, and it really shows in the work that you create. I think it's important that what you're doing, and you know, again, like with Brass Rabbit series, you know, art is it could be so much more than just something visually appealing. It can really tell a story and message across. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks.
Next we have Jeffrey Helmuth. Jeff, I don't believe is here. This is called The Girl from Zurich, and I'm going to zoom in close here so you can really see the detail. This is all pen and ink. Jeff is a draftsman, and you can really see his craft in his art as well. So this is The Girl from Zurich, and this is Bitmap Mother Mary, and it's all in code. It's the Virgin Mary. Really beautiful work. And I often wonder if he sits there, sends there like with the other one with the ruler, or if, you know, he's refined his craft so much that he doesn't need that. I know I would need it. So that's Jeff Helmuth. Andrea Geller. I was really pleased to see this because I'm familiar with Andrea's work for her Lost series, but I know the paintings and they're really wonderful. There's a few of them that are on Artsy as well. So I was really pleased to see the black and white ones come in. So this is Andrea Geller. There's also some of Andrea's work on the Artsy site. She has a really wonderful series called the Bath series, and it's a series, I think, about 30 different pieces on wood panel of different going through the bath, from preparing to a bath to being in the bath to getting out of the bath. Oh, actually here, let me show you. This is a print of one of them. But have a look on Artsy. They're really stunning. They're so vibrant. I have one in my bathroom. Appropriately enough. Okay, so Andrea, come on, tell us about Lost.
Oh, well,
and it's another piece too, the walking.
Yeah, well, first I want to thank you, Robert. I think it's been fabulous for you to show my work so much. And there has been a continuous thread between my work, and the thread is really about motion. So I discovered I was interested in motion when I went through my MFA program, and I'm a kinesthetic person. So I also learned through moving. And so when I saw the call for the black and whites, I don't often get a chance to show these. And Robert had asked me, do I do the sketches and then the paintings? And I had to think a moment because I move so fast. I don't even know how, you know, I'm moving between medium, I'm moving between black and white, and I have remnants of it all over the place. So it really helps kind of to focus somebody, an artist, to figure out what exactly you're doing. So these were at the same time as the water series. And this second piece is connected to the walking series that followed the water series. And this I decided to do as a triptych because my husband's always saying that I can't seem to focus. So I figured if I actually laid out what 3 panels would look like, at least I'll have, you know, a connectivity of work. And my children were often my muses because I didn't distinguish my life. And so this is my daughter walking away from me. And she was not a child anymore. She was now older. And, you know, so I would film her movement as she was moving away. And the point I want to make about the charcoal drawing is that it really is a different way of approaching an image when you change medium. And I think charcoal has a very similar feeling to oil paint in that it's very flexible. So I work with vine charcoal. I pull out the marks with an eraser. I'm actually holding it in my hand right now. And then I'll put more marks on working with compressed charcoal. And I'm not even actually I'm not thinking about it. It actually becomes an intuitive rhythm, which is the best way for me to be producing these. Once I start to think about it, I get very self-conscious and overwork it. So the structure is important, the compositions are important, but once they're there, I actually let the line, kind of like what Paul Klee would say, take a line for a walk and see where it goes. And that to me is one of the best experience that changes my state of mind and makes me feel like it worked as a complete statement. So the gesture is really what I'm always going for because my mom just recently passed, and one of my favorite paintings I did of her was her gesture sitting in a chair and no detail.
Right. Thank you, Andrea.
And thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. And again, please, Andrea has a great way with water. She's very influenced by water, whether it be the Lost series, or she's got a whole great series too of glaciers that we've had a few of them in the gallery. But there's have a look on Artsy. There's a number of them on Artsy as well. Okay, thank you, Andrea. This is Shoshana Cortez. I have 2 pieces from Shoshana. This is a oil painting. It's called Morning Coffee. It's oil on canvas, 20 by 24. And then I have a photograph of her fall in Central Park. She wrote a little bit about Morning Coffee that I'm going to read. The black and white theme was inspired by the contrast of mornings. It's still dark out, but soon it becomes bright. We are between the opposites of asleep and awake, like the lady on the painting, still half dreaming and half coming back to reality with the help of her cup of coffee and cigarette. While the first morning light penetrates the still dark room, illuminating her face, and I wanted to express this mood using black and white. Shoshana lives in New Jersey. I never really got to know Shoshana when I was running a gallery in New Jersey, but she came highly recommended by Ellen Martin, someone that I've worked with for a while and a wonderful artist herself and curator. So I was very happy to connect with Shoshana. So this is Shoshana Cortez. Barbara Tepper-Levy. I saw you here and I'm so glad you're here, Barbara. Here you are. You're on mute. And I'm gonna bring you up on camera.
Am I?
All right, you're good.
I'm not, okay.
Yeah, you're good. So we have 2 pieces from this series. So yeah, tell us about them.
I'm Barbara Tepper-Levy. My background is in fashion and costume design. I've really had very little art training, except for the fashion and the costume designing. These pieces are all from a series that I call Drawings from the Heart, or actually Drawing from the Heart. And they start with 3 lines. And then it just looks like something to me and I draw it. I have no preconceived notion of where it's going to go. And they end up being rather fanciful pieces. This one is called a Louisiana Yaya, which I don't know if anybody's read the book. And what's interesting is that I have a black and white puppy who was just here a minute ago,
Adorable.
who was from a kill shelter in Louisiana, who we just adopted 2 weeks ago. And he's a Dalmador, half Dalmatian, half Labrador. So he's in the black and white, in the black and white series as well. And this is the same. I, again, did not have a goal or an idea of what I was going to do. I started with 3 lines, and this is what it became.
Do you recall which lines in this piece you
No, I'm sorry, I don't. I really never do. And the reason I call it drawing from the heart is because generally what happens is, not in these 2 pieces, but what I'm experiencing psychologically or in my heart very often comes out. I have a lot of pregnant women.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get pregnant during the time I was working on these, and there were just a lot of lines that looked like pregnant bellies. So I really found that I was in a class with other people who were working with this method. They ended up doing a lot of landscapes, and I ended up doing women. Almost always women with children, lots of women with children.
Motherhood
And
runs through your work, for sure.
I'm sorry?
Motherhood is a theme that runs through your work, for sure. Motherhood.
Right.
Yeah.
You had balancing
Yeah.
in the gallery, which
Yeah.
was a mother holding out 2 children kind of in cradles on either side, and she's on her tiptoes. So I work in many different mediums. This is one that I don't work in anymore, but I have a really, like, probably about 100 pieces or so in my portfolio of these kind of works.
Wow. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Thank you.
I hope you get back to them. And, they're fun, and they're visually appealing too. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Okay, these are pieces by Shelly Davis. Shelly is an artist here in Socrates, or Malden, which is a hamlet in Socrates. And I'm saying it correctly now, Malden. It's spelled Malden. If you're from Jersey, it's Malden, with a W. I'm from Jersey, so I can say that. Anyway, so this is called You Don't Say. It's mixed media, 10 by 10. The one thing is that I especially like about Shelly's work is, she's always challenging herself, and she always embraces the theme that I put out there. And again, one of the reasons why I do put those themes out there is because I do work with a lot of the same artists. And I'm always pleased to, influence them or inspire them in some way. And if I could, give them a little something to think about and, a little push on moving in one direction, it's worth it. Because I'm a poet, and sometimes I need a theme or a little inspiration that's just not coming from within. So I look for it outside. To get me going. So I'm always pleased when I see that artists are inspired by, what I'm doing and by putting out there. So again, thank you to everyone that's, all the compliments and the people that have been inspired by these themes. I thought this was a really good theme. So this is Shelly Davis, and she was inspired by the black and white theme to create this piece, You Don't Say, which is a very Shelly Davis piece with the text in the back. The different texture that she creates. This one, I thought I could have been a Lowell Bar piece, but it's not. It's Shelly Davis, and I was very surprised when I saw this. So it looks like there might be a little darker side to Shelly as well. So I was very pleased to see this piece as well. And this creepily is called Child's Play, and this is 8 by 10. This is Anne Radar. Anne, I don't really know Anne all that well. I recently met her. She's been in the gallery a handful of times. and I just started seeing her work. I thought this was just a visually pleasing a piece. I think it sort of warms the heart. It's called Art with Nancy. It's graphite. It's 6x4. It's a small piece, but I think she did a wonderful job with it. That's Anne Radar. And then we have another Anne. This is Anne Morris. Anne, again, is another artist that I've worked with for a while and gets inspired by the themes that I put out there. Anne uses a lot of different materials. This is porcelain. So I was really pleased to see that she's gotten back to working with clay. It's 6x11, and this is a little something in what she says about, it's called a root source. I love carving bas relief of more three-dimensional works. Root source was a smaller piece of leftover porcelain clay, really too small to make a vessel. I rolled it out into an organic shape and started carving. The tree and its roots just appeared as I pulled my tools through the clay. The piece was bisque and then smoke fired in a pit kiln. After that, I added encaustic medium to bring out the deep blacks and make the surface more velvety. I found creating this piece very calming, and I hope that looking at it also instills a sense of calm and tranquility. I'll bring you a little closer. It's a really beautiful piece. And again, I'm really happy to see Anne getting back to her clay. And actually, she's been working a lot more in clay since COVID, and I'm going to be exhibiting some of her clay sculptures in the window in November. So I'm looking forward to that, all new materials. Speaking of clay, this is Elizabeth McGiff. Elizabeth is an artist in the area. I'm not too sure exactly where it is, but there's 3 pieces to this. This is called Karen. It's porcelain, and then there's 2 pieces. The first is Moon Jar, and then there's a second Moon Jar as well. Here we go. And these are both porcelain. The Karen is about 14 inches in height. Moon Jar is 6x6. The images make them look a little more tan than they are. They're a bit more white. Eileen Power. Eileen is an artist that I just started recently working with. This is encaustic and oil stick. It's a small piece, 8x8. It's on wood board, heavily layered. It's stamped with an antique textile wooden stamp from India, and then carved on the sides and on top in a primitive motif. Once the encaustic dried, she rubbed oil stick into the carved grooves. And Eileen was telling me that she has been moving away from using traditional encaustic because it's been, encaustic is very toxic, especially if you don't have the right environment to produce it in. You need a lot of ventilation, and she started having a bad reaction to it. So this was the last piece that she made with traditional encaustic. Now she's been using beeswax candles, melting beeswax. She told me that she went to the candle shop where she gets her candles all the time, just to make sure that it wouldn't be toxic or have any kind of adverse effects. But it doesn't. It's very pure. So the last piece that I had in the terrain show, she had a large piece of torn canvas where there was some wax that was dripped on it. It almost looked like a waterfall. It reminded me of a waterfall. That was one of the beeswax pieces that she used. So that's Eileen Power. Lynn Towner. Lynn, are you here?
Yes, here I am.
Let me find you. Oh, here you are. Okay, great. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. And it's good to be here.
Have you?
I see some faces I know and plenty of people I've never met. But I just have missed the communities of artists, so it's good to be here. This drawing is, it began as a blind drawing with my eyes closed, and I had a selection of pencils in my hand, different numbers, AF, HB, 2Bs, 4Bs, and I was making marks of different lengths and angles and different positions on the paper, and switching between the pencils, using some very lightly and some heavily, little points, small dashes, large heavy marks, repetitions, moving to different areas of the paper. And then when I opened my eyes, I saw that, as you can see, the marks travel along a vector left to right, a right-handed person, flecks of black floating in this negative white space. And I'm reminded of recent reading when I looked at it. I've been doing a lot of reading about climate change, and particularly pertaining to air quality. And I have breathing difficulties, and I check the air quality stats every day. And in the summer, the primary pollutant is ozone, but the rest of the time, it's what they call particulate matter. And that's tiny pieces of who knows what floating in the air that we breathe. And it's troublesome to me and to all of us. And so I worked on the drawing, and I added shapes and depth, and I used black Conte and some white pastel. And I thought of the song, The Air That I Breathe, which was first sung by the Hollies. There was a ballad by, I looked it up, Albert Hammond and Mike Hazelwood. And so that's what I feel like. It's like what I need, and what we all need, is the air that we breathe, and we need it to be clean. So it's about our need for good, clean air, which is paramount. So that's the story of this piece.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was hoping you would tell us about that when I read your artist statement. Again, I think, you know, it's art can be visually appealing, but then when you hear the artist's intent behind it, it makes it even more important. I think this piece speaks to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next piece is, this is by Melanie Medeiros, and I'm probably butchering her last name. This is called Jawbone. Jawbone was, it's, what is it called? Aka pulp, I think it's called. Abaca pulp, which is a tree and a pulp that's sort of pure to the environment. Speaking about impurities in the air. Behind it, she used a jawbone to sort of make a indentation of the bone. Melanie lives in Rhode Island. She is getting her master's, I believe, right now. She had a piece in the paper show not too long ago. Big sculpture, again, that was all handmade paper of the abaca pulp. So this is Melanie Medeiros. These are two pieces by Joan Folliette. Joan lives here in Saugerties or Malden. These are both charcoal. One is charcoal and one is a collage, which is which. I believe this is the collage, and then this is charcoal, but there's charcoal in both of them. They're from a series, it's an Untitled series. The first one is called Origin of the World. The second is Untitled Proclamation. They're both 9x12. Joan does wonderful things with abstract. She uses a lot of various materials, and she creates some really, really wonderful collage. I was really pleased to see this. It's very representative of the kind of work that Joan does. So I was really pleased to have these in the show. They fit in perfectly. And I think Joan is one of the artists that, like a lot of artists in the community, a number of them from the Woodstock School of Art, the printmaking department, have not been able to go to the printmaking shop. So they've been finding different ways to sort of recycle some of their older works. I don't know if this is what Joan did, but I know she's been doing that here and there, along with Susannah Rauner is another one that's been doing a whole series, gorgeous series of works where she's been recycling some of her older collages. It's important to keep ourselves busy and creative. This is Nancy Cantandela. This is called the Shirt Factory Piano. The Shirt Factory is in Kingston, and it was an old factory that's been converted into artist lofts. Nancy was telling me the story behind this, which I thought was a really interesting story. So I asked her to write it down for me, so I'm going to read that for you. It's called the Shirt Factory Piano. During 3 years I lived and worked at the Shirt Factory in Kingston, I took some photos of its interesting interiors and exteriors. An antique piano lived there also, which had its place under the stairs on the main floor. The first time I heard it played was by renowned artist Linda Montano, who's Saugerty's resident here, as part of a big artist celebration of the Shirt Factory's 100th year birthday in September of 2017. The piano's true owner lived on the second floor. He decided to permanently gift it to the Shirt Factory in 2019. So it was relocated from stairwell to the Shirt Factory lobby because it would be nice to see the piano in plain sight. Then the piano went missing. Management put out an email to the Shirt Factory residents, please return the piano, no questions asked, but to no avail. But a third floor resident hears the piano playing at around 3 a.m, several nights in a row, and mentions it to management. A tap on the 4th floor door of the piano player by management was all it took to extract the piano player's confession, hence the mystery of the missing Shirt Factory piano was solved. No punitive actions were taken, of course. The day I discovered it was back, I took this shot. It seemed like the light flooding through the doors was a welcome home message. I think it's a really lovely photograph. And again, stories behind art, I think makes it even more special. And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing these artist discussions, because, when you look at a photograph, it could just be a lovely photograph of the piano, but when you hear the story behind it, it makes it even more special. And this is another piece by Nancy. This is called In Joan's Garden. And this is Nancy's dog in the back scratching himself. Okay, Ed Berkey's. This is a piece by Ed Berkey's called My Snow Squall. It's mixed media, 17 by 21. Ed's a really prolific artist. He's lives here in Woodstock. He's a real estate agent by trade. Live in the city. He moved up here permanently, and Ed is such a creator. He creates art like it's going out of style, and good stuff, really good stuff. He's always challenging himself. He's inspired by so many different styles, cubism, surrealism. He does some gorgeous pet portraits also. So Ed always surprises me by the work that I see from him. And he's always sending me new stuff, and I'm always pleased to see his work. There's a good selection of Ed's work on the Gallery Artsy page as well, so please have a look. Teresa Landy Daniel. Did you make it over, Teresa? I saw your comment. I don't think so. I don't see you here, though. Okay. Oh, you are here. Great. You're on mute, and I'm going to bring you up. All right. Are you here? You're muted. You have to unmute.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Welcome.
Excellent. Hi.
Hi. You made it.
I'm sorry, I'm such a techno boob. This piece is called Love Story. It's complicated. And the name came after I finished the piece. I had done one earlier called Love Story in Black and White, and I was going to call this one just number 2. And I had envisioned something with more control, a stylized dahlia flower or something. And this one kind of went off the rails, in my opinion. So I played with it and played with it some more and played with it some more. Told Robert that I thought it needed something, and he said, don't touch it. It's fine the way it is. This is white paper pulp, just garbage paper, envelopes, and computer paper whizzed up in a blender. And I put in lace and stone, a burnt matchstick, a couple of pieces of broken glass. It broke my heart when I broke this glass. and I like to repurpose things that I love this much. The love theme, I start with that, and love has sharp edges. Love hurts. Love is beautiful. I put in lace. I make flowers. There's a dead fly under the glass, which people tell me looks like a teacup. Yeah, down at the bottom. That's my favorite part. I was really, really happy with that, and not terribly happy with some of the rest. Then I noticed that there is a figure in the middle of the, oh, that's a stone. That's just a river stone, a river pebble. And the figure in the middle, it was not intended to be a figure. I thought I made a big mistake by putting matchstick ashes into the paper. And then it struck me that that looks like a female figure. She looks like she is kneeling. The ashes look like a halo or some kind of dark cloud. It almost looks like praying hands. I'm seeing this as a figure, either a saint, an angel, a slave, a prisoner, a sacrifice. It suddenly looked to me like it had any kind of possibility one would want to see, and maybe up to interpretation for some of the other objects and shapes around it. So I decided, instead of calling it Love Story in Black and White 2, I called it Love Story, It's Complicated.
It's beautiful. I think there's a lot of really great movement and flow in this piece.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And irony would have it that the piece of mine that you sold a year ago, April, was also supposed to start off as something more delicate and floral. And I had a vision in my head of what I wanted this beautiful flower to look like. And it also got wild, and I overworked it and worked with what I did. And somebody in the Bronx really liked it. So I'm going to cut myself some slack when I think things get on the wild side.
Sometimes we can be too critical on ourselves.
Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Okay, this is a piece by Mary Renwick. Mary lives here in, I don't know if it's in Saugerties, but she lives in the area. I originally met her when she was living in Brooklyn. This is a piece called Trodden. It's encaustic and mixed media. It's 7x10. This is what she has to say. Botanicals have been a frequent subject in my work, and in the case of this piece, I was inspired by a pine cone that had been walked on so much that it was barely recognizable, but held interest for me in its now evident fibrousness. I have done a series inspired by the image, sometimes replicating the shape and lines with pigment etched into wax, and sometimes doing this over a photo transfer of the pine cone. In this particular painting, I wanted to create an image, then its mirrored opposite, with the end result suggesting that this piece was a vestige from the past, with flecks of dust or the frequent tracking of insects across the surface, looking like something unearthed from an old trunk in the attic. The materials are encaustic and pigment stick on wood panels. One key point about the process is that you need to create a very smooth surface in order to incise the wax or make a transfer, and that's a very controlled task. Again, there's been a few encaustic pieces in this show. I'm a big fan of encaustic, and I keep saying this, I need to make it happen. I want to do an encaustic show because there's so many different ways that artists are using encaustic, and it can really enhance work. It's just a wonderful material. I'd love to do it myself. So that's Mary Renwick. Nancy DeFlon. Nancy, are you here? I thought I saw you before. There you are. Okay, great. I'm going to bring you up. How come I can't bring you up? Can you talk, Nancy? No? Oh, I think we're having the same problem as last time. I see that you're unmuted. Okay. I'm going to say something quick about Nancy, this piece. And then Nancy, if the audio comes back on, we'll bring you up. I've exhibited a number of Nancy's work in the past and the present. Nancy lives here in Saugerties. I always love spending a little time with her. This piece I thought was so wonderful. And one of the things that I really liked about it is this center sort of natural line that is created through the trees, where the trees aren't touching. And I think it goes so wonderfully with the tree trunks and the road, and there's just it just pulls the whole piece together. This is called Skogen. I'm sorry I don't have my notes with me, but I know that Nancy does a lot of traveling. This is called Skogen 2. I don't want to say where it is because I honestly am not too sure, but I know that Nancy does a lot of traveling, especially in Cape Cod. She's really inspired by Cape Cod. So this is Skogen 2. And then this second piece is The Split Tree, which is also in Skogen. And I should have looked this up. My apologies to Nancy and to everyone else. Elaine Ralston. This, I was surprised to see that this was Elaine's. Elaine, are you here? Yeah, I see you. Okay. You're on mute.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Am I on mute?
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi. It's nice to be here and see all the lovely art. Yeah, you were surprised because most of what I do is pastel, but yes. I have a few lino cuts that I like to do very much because it makes your mind do a little flip because you have to sort of work backwards, and it helps the process, and it gives you an opportunity to see differently. This is the Ashokan Gorge. It's off a spillway road, and sometimes it's really deep and it's really rushing with water when they let some of the reservoir water out. And then sometimes it's totally dry and it's just a big gorge. This was done when it was really flowing, and I enjoy doing the lino cuts very much.
They're very different for you, and I think they're really beautiful. I mean, they complement what you do with pastels really nicely. Two completely different, fields though. But I think you do well. I'd love to see more.
Yeah, you have to think differently, which helps.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Tell Ruby I said hi. Was that her in the background?
Yes, everybody's got to jump on your lap when you're at the
chasing bears around. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Next is Linda Linton. Linda, I'm glad to see you here. I wasn't sure if you were going to join us or not, but I hope you're feeling better.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
And this too is another piece that it definitely says Linda Linton on it. But without the color, I was really surprised to, I've seen some of your sketches that are in black and white or with no color, but this is lovely.
Well, I'd started experimenting. I always, I paint with thick paint. One of the frustrating things with doing thick paint is some pigments do not produce an impasto effect. So I was starting to play around with different impasto mediums. And one of the pigments that is always flat, literally flat, is black. So I was playing around here literally to play around with the impasto. The one I was using called by Weber, Permalba fast drying impasto gel medium. And so I just used the black paint, the black pigment and the white. And this, in fact, is a tree in the Socrates area. There's Codfish Point, which is a very steep escarpment going down to the Hudson Valley, and it's to the west of Socrates. It's very close to Socrates. Of course, so I had to call it Where's the Fish, because I've never found out why that particular place is called Codfish Point. You know, where did the codfish come in? And it's very steep and quite dangerous. And I do a lot of hiking, and I notice the hiking maps do not accentuate this place, and I can see why, because it's a sheer drop going all the way down. It's an interesting place. And this is my first attempt using this impasto medium, just to see how the effect would look. So that's basically, and if anyone knows why Codfish Point is called Codfish Point, I'd love to know. It's a great hike, by the way, if you haven't done it.
That's beautiful.
Elaine's done it, and it's, yeah. So that's basically the story there, yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Right.
All right, Nancy, I see that you are back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, great. Let me.
Fantastic. Great. I keep switching back and forth between two computers. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, please tell us where Skogen is again.
It's in Sweden. Both pictures were taken 10 years ago on the same day during a trip to Sweden. And, you know, friends who know that I'm interested in history and obviously I'm a photographer, drove me around to some of these estates. And they're taken to two different places, but close by. And I don't usually think in terms of black and white photography, but this one, of course, you know, when I put it up on the screen later, I thought, well, you know, it's quite obvious. And at the time I was very influenced by a photographer on the West Coast named Harold Davis, who does some really stunning black and white work. And so I said, well, you know, I kind of channeled him a little bit for that one. The other one, the split tree, that came along as a black and white later. I had that one in color. And then I'm looking at that remarkable shape of the tree. And the fact that the background was quite clear, you know, clean, there's nothing interfering with it. And I thought, well, that would also make a good black and white picture. And so that's how that one came about. And as I said, I don't really think in terms of black and white, but sometimes I've done a lot of course, I'm a historian as well. And so I like to go around and photograph historical sites. It's not Cape Cod, it's Rhode Island that I go to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Newport area. And there are certain things that I like to photograph, and sometimes I make them look like paintings, but I may want to turn some of them into, you know, kind of a vintage sort of look, some of the older things. I like to photograph trees and parts of trees and rocks, and I'm thinking of turning some of them, not necessarily into black and white, but definitely into monochrome. One of my inspirations there is this photographer in the Catskills, I think you know his name, John O'Grady.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an inspiration to me as well as a source of personal encouragement. And I'd like to go further into, well, Asher Durant, one of the great Hudson River painters. He made a lot of sketches because his painting is all very realistic. And so he would do these trees and sketch trees and rocks. And I'm thinking, how can I maybe turn some of the things that I've done into things that look like Asher Durant's, that they've been, you know, inspired by his work. And the thing is, if I can do that, so I'm just thinking I'm going to do something that look like real Asher Durant's, and you can exhibit them and we can clean up.
Nice. I think these work beautifully in black and white.
Thank
really
you.
Nice. Yeah, I think they would just lose something in color, or at least give a different feel.
Yeah, it's because they're clean and they have the shapes, which is what you need for black and white.
Definitely. All right, thank you, Nancy. I'm glad we got you back on.
Oh, thank you, Robert.
All right. Okay, the next artist that we have is Marie Cole. These are 2 solar plate etchings by Marie. This is called, let me see. They're river sketches. It's River Sketches series. There's River Sketch 4 and then River Sketch 3. So this is 3. And this is what Marie has to say. These works are solar plate etchings and they are generated from my sketchbooks. The etchings are small editions of 15 and each one is inked and printed individually. The Hudson River, Catskill Mountains, and the weather are a never-ending source of inspiration, and quite often these small works will generate larger paintings. Okay, and then Jeffrey Langford. Jeffrey, are you here? I don't think you're here. No? Okay, these are 2 pieces by Jeffrey Langford. The first piece is called Curves. Oh, are you here? No. The first piece is called Curves, and then the second piece is called Fractured Ice. Fractured Ice is the one that's an artsy. I just thought this was just stunning. You know, an abstract piece that, again, if I didn't know that it was ice, I wouldn't necessarily go right to ice. It could have been a number of different things. I want to go back to the calla lily. Well, it's a lily. I don't know if it's a calla lily, but you know, calla lilies are some of my favorite flowers. So if anyone ever wants to buy me flowers, that's what I like. Anyway, you know, in San Francisco, they grow wild all over the place, and there's such a delicate, beautiful flower that, you know, I mean, just to see them growing in the wild is sort of magical. So I was immediately drawn to this piece because, number one, it's a fantastic image, and because it's a calla lily or a form of lily, which, you know, I'm just so fond of, and I really like in the background here the shadow of this second lily. So that's Jeffrey. Carrie.
Hi.
I saw you here.
I'm here.
Where are you? Oh, here you are. Is this you? Wave for me.
That's me.
No. No. Oh, here you are. I see you. Okay.
I think it was on reverse.
Welcome.
Oh,
So Carrie's got 2 pieces. This is the first, and then here's the second.
yeah.
The one that's
So
on our.
I just think that I take a lot of pictures of flowers and things in nature, trees and things like that. But there's something about looking at the lines of the black and white, like it's almost like the color photos tend to distract from the lines or like the deepness of this, like the central part of that flower. Like you wouldn't really see that. I think it was yellow or a dark gold when it was before I decided to make that a black and white. But I just thought it was more, I don't know, interesting. I think everything I've ever submitted to you is in black and white, honestly. But
It has been. I'm a big fan of black and white.
yeah. But yeah, I think that I just like the lines of the flowers. And of course, these later became part of the repurposed work that I do too. So a lot of the stuff I take the shots and then I use it later in some of the repurposed, more collage-like work that I do. So yeah, this one. So these are just around in the garden here. This one just, I mean, the spikes, you didn't really see the detail of the spikes in the colored photograph, you know, the original. So when I was editing it and I saw it in black and white, I was like, wow, that's really cool looking. Like it's very, like you don't notice how spiky it is. So I just thought it was more interesting once I got rid of the distraction of the colors, so to speak. I know that sounds kind of strange, but so that was just a little, I don't even know what type of a flower that is in the little garden here.
They're beautiful. I love them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marjorie, I'm glad you made it. Your internet's back?
Okay. Am I unmuted? Yeah.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I just want to say again that I'm a big fan of Marjorie's work. I've exhibited her a number of times, and I always say this, but it's true. Every time I look at Marjorie's work, it makes me smile. It just, you know, it just gives me a real warm feeling. And again, that's, you know, if there's any goal to art, I think in my opinion, that's one of the main goals, is to, you know, elicit some kind of feeling. And Marjorie's work always does that for me. And she didn't disappoint this time. And again, look, there's a number of pieces on the artsy site of Marjorie's as well. Lots of really fantastic, whimsical animals. Yeah, it's have a look at it. But please tell us about this guy here.
Okay. Okay, well, like a lot of other people have mentioned, I always work in color and in very intense color. So, and you know, you're doing these different exhibits has been a really source of focus and inspiration. I try to do something to submit to the exhibits, and I didn't have any black and white paintings around. So, you know, at first it was kind of intimidating. And then I thought, well, a zebra, I've done zebras before. And so I painted the zebra. And then I thought of the Piero to put on him, because Pieros are often portrayed in black and white. And so it was an interesting pairing. And then I kind of played around with it and made something that looked like stars and moon or whatever. But it was really quite fun to do these paintings in black and white, unexpectedly. You know, I thought it was going to be kind of dull, but it was very intense. And I liked the way that they came out. And in fact, I had posted this painting on Facebook, and someone said she could see my colors through the black and white. So yeah. I was kind of pleased about that, but it has a nice fantasy aspect to it. And I was very pleased with it. And I also wanted to say that these virtual artist discussions have really been wonderful, because one looks at art differently, you know, really focuses your attention. And I've been gathering ideas of places to go and hike and, you know, different materials to use. So it's really been terrific. So
Great.
I want to thank you for that, Robert.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I got to say, I think they've been wonderful as well. You know, openings are great. And it's always great to see people in person and to chat. But, you know, a lot of times you don't really get to, as a group, hear from artists and what they're thinking and their creative process. You get, and also to see the show, you know, so many times I have artists that come back after the opening because they didn't get to see all of the art on the wall. It was
right. It's hurried, you know, whereas you really focus on something.
Yeah.
Which is very nice.
Well, thank you for that. Even when openings do start coming back, I want to continue on with this. Because not just people in the community are seeing this, but, you know, the whole world is seeing it. It's available to the whole world. And, you know, I mean, I just love the idea that, you know, people all over are seeing how much talent we have in this community. And I'm really pleased to feature that. Thanks, Marjorie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Speaking of talent in our community, this is work by Nancy Campbell. Nancy's a really wonderful artist here in Saugerties. I know her mostly as an oil painter, so I was really surprised to see these silk aqua tints. This is called Sheep on a Hill, I believe. And then the second one here is called Alta. So what she's saying, this is a landscape from Alta, Utah, where her son got married. It's imagined from her drawings from a 10-day residency in Count Kerry, Ireland in 2014. That's the sheep on the hill. This image is created, both of them, is using a non-toxic painterly printmaking process called silk aquatint. White acrylic paint is mixed with gloss acrylic medium, which acts as a resist to the intaglio ink. Those areas of the image which are lightest have the most acrylic resist mix. It's a fun medium and lends itself beautifully to the landscape. These are two small pieces, but again, really, really effective. It's Nancy Campbell. Nancy's again a wonderful oil painter as well. There's a few pieces on the artsy site from the beautiful, gorgeous piece from the last landscape show as well. Agnes. Speaking of beautiful oil paintings, Agnes, I just saw you. Here you are. You're on mute, though. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
All right, there you are. Great.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
Want to say hi, Linda and Elaine and Ruby too. When I've been painting for 8 years, I'm an acrylic painter. And when I saw this call for art in black and white, I was really excited because I've never done this before. So I'm very attracted to wolves. I love wolves. I love their family structure, the way they take care of each other. I mean, when the mother has pups, they feed the mother, they bring her food. And when the pups get of a certain age, they babysit for the pups. And they're a very close family tie, and the yellow eye is what blows your mind away. And I was lucky enough to go to a preserve a few years ago, and I was really up close and personal with the wolves, and they are gorgeous. So when I saw the black and white, this painting, actually the photo I did it from was actually a daytime photo. It's a white wolf with the sun shining, and I put it on the computer and I darkened it down till it got to look like a night painting with the moonlight on it. And like some of the artists have stressed, it is a little difficult to do black and white. You know, it's very challenging, but I do challenge myself a lot, almost to a fault. But I just loved it. Just came out, and I was just so pleased with how it came out. And actually, I guess I'm a very quick talker, so I'm not going to take 3 minutes, but this is what I got from the black and white. And I want to thank you, Robert, because you make art exciting, because you bring out all these different things, you know, like I'm going to have orange show and black and white, and it's exciting because then you say, oh boy, I want to get in to try and do something. So I thank you for that. And I congratulate all the artists that are in this show today, and all the former artists and ones that will be in the future. And thank you so much. And that's about all I have to say.
That's very sweet. Thank you, Agnes. I appreciate that.
Okay. Have a good one.
Pleased to have it. Jesse. Jesse, are you here? I think I saw you. We haven't met in person. Oh, here you are. Great. Okay, you're on mute. I'm going to bring you up. And Jesse's got a few pieces here. Fairy tale. And then she has a triptych of Wizard of Oz. So which one did you want to start with?
We can start with fairy tale.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for having me, first off.
Yep.
I'm really pleased to be a part of the show. So my work focuses on fine art photography. I have two pretty different subject matters that I work with. The first being abstract landscapes, and the second being equestrian fine art. And although they're very different, I try to make them united through my techniques, which focus on basically creating mystery. So I've always been fascinated with the more mysterious things in life. A friend once told me that I was more curious with what could be than what is. And I think that's pretty accurate. So fairy tale is from the initial Mirage collection, which was the foundation collection for the equestrian works. And that collection focuses on using high contrast and a lot of lost and found edges. And there's a variety in that collection, and fairy tale would be on the more abstract end, where the edges become more lost and the image almost deconstructs. And in that way, it creates a platform for your imagination to wander wherever it might be. And to me, like, fairy tales are a very individual thing. Everybody has their own life's idea as to what their fairy tale might be. So and in that sense, I also decided to do a play on words for the title. So it's not exactly spelled as it should be, but that's also left to the imagination as to how one might want to interpret that. And then for my second work, which is the triptych, that would be,
Let me, let me pull them. I'll pull the triptych up, the three of them together.
Perfect.
Here we go. Okay.
There we go.
Right.
So this would be an example of the abstract landscape work that I do. It's part of the Phantom collection, which captured a variety of light and shadows casting upon the mountains in Yosemite. I was actually there for my sister's wedding pre-COVID, and I captured this image at the time. And even then, I thought it reminded me of the trees in The Wizard of Oz from the forest, where all of the characters had to navigate that forest in order to get to the palace on the other side. And that palace held all of the treasures that they sought, whether it be a heart of courage or all the other things that they were after. And at the time I thought, well, it's awfully representative of our journeys in life individually. And then as COVID came along, it also felt to me like it was part of our journey as a society as a whole. And it had a much broader implication for the struggles that the whole world is going through at the moment. And that tying it back to the Wizard of Oz, at that time, if you get through the struggles, there will hopefully be a greater world on the other side. So that's sort of how I feel like we are at the moment, and looking forward to bigger and better things.
Me too. Thank you so much, Jesse. It's good to meet you virtually.
Good to meet you as well.
Okay, and now our final pieces are works by Wilma Miller. This is called On Top of Mount Evans. And it is a lino cut. The other is called Bailey Island Rocks. So the two compositions of the rocky Maine coast, Bailey Island Rocks, are both well suited to the process of linoleum block printing. Let me bring that one up. That's this one here. The structures and patterns created by the rock ledges and the rhythmic motion of the ocean become the life force of these lino cuts. By using the contrast between solid black areas, texture, and line variation, these prints created visual energy and vitality. The other, on the top of Mount Evans, is a woodcut, which is just another material that can be used to create a block print. These Colorado rocks differ from those found in Maine, but they also require a complex vocabulary of lines and mark making to establish the environs where this mountain goat greeted me at 14,000 feet. So that's Wilma Miller. Wilma, I've exhibited Wilma's work a number of times before. And again, like a lot of artists, I'm familiar with her oil pieces. I'm really pleased to see a lot of these artists doing printmaking and sharing their work with me. Always surprised. All right, so that's our show. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Again, thank you to all of the artists who joined us, who joined us virtually, who came into the gallery. The work will be up on the gallery walls through the 27th. If you can't make it in, have a look at the Artsy site. It's Emerge Gallery NY on artsy.net. There's additional works exclusively to Artsy through of this exhibit that you won't find on the gallery walls. I mean, I have a small space here, but the virtual walls are non-existent. I mean, you could it's limitless. So again, thanks everyone. The next show that's going to be coming up in the gallery is Tell Me a Story, which I'm very excited about. Being a writer, Tell Me a Story is a show of very narrative art. And what I'm going to be doing is inviting writers in throughout the month to, this is informally, to come in and connect with a piece and then finish writing the stories that the artist started in their artwork. There will be a reading at some point. I'm hoping that it will be a reading here in Saugerties in a big open air space. If not, it will definitely be virtual. I'm doing this in collaboration with Shout Out Saugerties, which is a wonderful group here in Saugerties that is bringing attention to the art in our community and creating events like this. The submission process is still open for that, and I'm doing a Artsy online exclusive of orange work. Orange is not a color that I've really paid attention to before, but for some reason I've been noticing orange in a lot of work lately. I don't know if it's just artists are connecting with it now or if it's just a color that I haven't really paid attention to. And it seems like some artists have not paid attention to it either, because they're telling me I don't have any orange work, but then when they go back and they look through their work, it's like, oh wow, I do have orange work. So it's one of those colors that's overlooked, but I thought it has a big impact. So that's going to be the next virtual show on Artsy, and the submissions are still open for that as well. In November, we have the annual small show coming up. And then in December, I have my annual Red show, primarily Red, which is a favorite of people in the community. So that's our show. Thanks again for joining us. If you want to rewatch this, it will be archived on YouTube and also on the website. Spend a little time with the art. You'll be able to find work from previous shows as well, and some online exclusives. We've got some featured artists. You'll see a number of Marjorie Maga's work, Linda Linton, Ed Berkey's, Robert Greco. Who else did I miss? Oh, Leslie Bodsey. Leslie Bodsey's got a solo show right now, wrapping and unveiling, which I really encourage you to have a look at. Arabella, as I mentioned, is coming up with the Wall Dog series. That'll be up this week. They're really fun. It'll give you a little virtual tour through San Francisco in the 1990s. You won't have to go search out the Wall Dogs yourself. They'll be right there. And then JD Weiss, who had some photographs in this show as well. She has some really beautiful black and white and color works as well. So have a look at the art, keep creating, and we'll look forward to this next one. So everybody have a great weekend. A good, is it Memorial Day, Labor Day? Labor Day. Have a good Labor Day weekend. It's almost over. I'm taking a little break tomorrow. So everyone, I'll see you all soon. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see if, let me get everybody up here. No. Okay, great. All right. Bye, everybody.